It's not an expression of love for Russia to say they haven't killed any Americans. Why is that crazy? That's true. I said to one of the candidates yesterday, I mean, look, I've never been to Russia. I'm not that interested in ever going. I don't speak Russian. I'm born in this country, kind of probably plan to die here. Hope to. But let's just do the body count. So what's the total number of Americans murdered by Russia in the last 3 years? I'm thinking, I'm not great at math. I think it's around 0, in that range. I don't know any. I do know 2 people well personally who've died from fentanyl that was manufactured in Mexico and allowed by the Mexican government to come here. But yesterday, I sat and watched. I kept my temper the entire time because it's not up to me who the Republican nominee is at all. I'm just an unemployed talk show host, so I thought I'm gonna try to keep myself out of it. But I raised the question, it was a completely fair question. There are clergy in Ukraine who are being thrown in prison. Convents raided, nuns kicked out, priests handcuffed, thrown in jail. So, I mean, on one level you think, well, it's not my country. You know, they do all kinds of barbaric things around the world. You can't be upset about all of them. Much more interested in what's happening in El Paso than I am in Kiev. On the other hand, if I'm paying for it, and if I'm sitting here listening to moral lectures about how I have to pay for it or else I'm a tool of Putin, I think it's fair to ask, like, what is that? Throwing priests in jail? And so I asked a self-appointed Christian leader about that, and I said, what do you think, as someone who's spent his life advocating for religious freedom, about raiding nunneries and throwing priests in jail? And he said with a straight face, well, they had the wrong views. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize what the boundaries were. So you have religious freedom or freedom of speech or freedom of assembly as long as you stay within the lines, but if you express an unapproved view, then you go to jail. But that's freedom, isn't it? You do exactly what I tell you to do, or else I imprison you. Is that the freedom that you recognize? No, that's insane. And so that irritated me, and I said, well, but don't you think as a Christian leader you should say something when Christian clergy are imprisoned for their views? No. And how dare you say that? And this person was joined by a chorus of people on the right. Yeah, shut up. Shut up. National Review wrote a piece this morning. Shut up, it's bigoted to notice that Christian clergy are being imprisoned in Ukraine. And my view would be, maybe you care, maybe you don't, but if you're a Christian leader and Christians are going to jail for their views, you are required to say something. And if you don't, you're not much of a Christian leader. And by the way, the person I was speaking to is a person, I think, of real faith and of decency. Like, I would let him babysit my kids. Not for long, but for dinner. I mean, I don't think he's like an evil person. He's not a secret serial killer on Long Island or something that I know of. But he, with a straight face, told me this. And he said, but what Ukraine really needs, and I say this as a Christian leader, is more cluster bombs. And I thought, well, you know who it was. And I thought to myself, more cluster bombs. Now, I am not a Bible scholar. But I'm pretty sure, having read 4 out of 4 Gospels, that like Luke 17 doesn't call for shower cluster bombs on the children. In fact, I'm just going to go out on a limb as a non-theologian and say the overriding message of the New Testament is bring peace. And this person, because that's what it says. And this person with a straight face got almost weepy at the prospect that the government that's imprisoning Christians doesn't have enough missiles and tanks, which is, maybe it's a fair position. It's not a legitimate position for a self-described Christian leader to have. It's just not. I'm sorry. That's disgusting. And this person said to me, we need to do this because that's what leadership looks like. And I thought, I've never been a diplomat. I'm the father of many children. And I don't have a PhD in leadership, but I know what parental leadership looks like, paternal leadership looks like. And if 2 of your kids are in a brawl, maybe you think one's right and the other's wrong, but it doesn't matter. What do you say? Beat the crap out of him, he's wrong. No. You say, Dad's home, knock it off. And the first thing you do, because you are in charge, not the children, you're in charge, you're dad. The first thing you do is you stop the fighting. And then you take them into separate rooms and you administer whatever lesson or justice you think necessary. But they're not allowed to fight with each other because you're home, because you're leading your family. And there may be a way in which international leadership is totally different than managing a house of 4 kids and 4 dogs, but I don't know what that way is. If you're the leader, the last thing you do is sow more chaos. You stop the chaos. Leadership is bringing order and regularity and predictability to a chaotic scene. Wait till your dad gets home. What, dad shows up drunk and is like, keep hitting him. Bad dad. A man, in fact, unworthy of the name dad. That's not leadership. It's an abdication of leadership. It's a perversion of leadership, and it's disgusting.